Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Killer Conversations, the podcast where every case has a story and every story sparks a conversation. My name is Marcus.
And I'm Leah. Today, we're discussing a case that recently unfolded in Conrad, Montana.
A missing woman was found stuffed in a suitcase inside a dumpster. It sounds like the plot of a crime thriller, but this gruesome discovery in Montana is all too real. In this episode, we're diving into a case that's shaken a small town to its core.
Oh wow, that's absolutely chilling. What can you tell us about this case?
Well, it all started on November 30th when 46-year-old Alicia Wood was reported missing. She hadn't been heard from for several days, which immediately set off alarm bells in her small town of Conrad, Montana.
Conrad, Montana. That's a pretty small place, right? I imagine a disappearance like that would really impact the community.
You're absolutely right. Conrad has a population of just over 2,500 people, so news like this spreads fast. The police didn't waste any time. They immediately began searching Wood's home and the surrounding areas, but what they found, or rather didn't find, only deepened the mystery.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they located Alicia's car abandoned on a nearby highway, but the condition of the car was disturbing, to say the least. According to court documents, investigators found blood spatter on both the passenger and driver's sides. There were even handprints that looked like someone had dragged their hand across the car locking mechanism.
Oh my god, that's horrifying. It's like something out of a crime scene investigation show, but this is real life we're talking about.
Exactly, and if that wasn't enough, they also found a bullet casing on the floor of the car. At this point, it was clear that whatever happened to Alicia Wood was far more than just a simple disappearance.
So, what happened next? How did they eventually find her?
Well, the investigation took a turn on December 10th, when they began searching a landfill in the nearby town of High Plains. And that's when a 29-year-old man named William Glenn Olson enters the picture.
Oh, I see. Was he a suspect from the beginning?
Not exactly. Olson had actually spoken to the police earlier, on December 2nd. He claimed he had last seen Alicia on November 10th and didn't know where she was. But here's where it gets interesting. The police discovered that Olson had several active arrest warrants, including one related to a domestic assault case.
That certainly raises some red flags. Did they find any connection between Olson and Wood?
The police haven't clarified the exact nature of their relationship, but court documents suggest that Olson had allegedly damaged Wood's car at some point before her death. After Olson was arrested on December 11th, he finally admitted to what happened during a second interview with detectives.
And what he confessed to must have been pretty horrific, right?
You're right, it was. According to the court documents, Olson admitted that he and Wood were fighting at her home when he put her in a headlock and killed her. But what he did next is even more disturbing. After Wood died, Olson allegedly took a suitcase from her closet, placed her body inside, and then drove to the nearby town of Great Falls, where he dumped the suitcase in a dumpster near an elementary school.
Near an elementary school? I'm at a loss for words. The disregard for human life and dignity is staggering.
It truly is. And here's where we stand now. As of December 12th, Alicia Wood's body still hasn't been recovered. The Conrad Police Chief, Corey Smith, believes her remains may still be in the landfill.
That must be incredibly difficult for the search crews. What kind of efforts are being made to find her?
They're using drones, excavators, and bulldozers to search the landfill for her body. It's a massive undertaking that could go on for weeks or even months. These types of searches are incredibly complex. They have to consider factors like the date the body was likely dumped, the landfill's dumping patterns, and even weather conditions that might have affected the waste distribution.
Wow, I had no idea landfill searches were so complex. It really shows the dedication of law enforcement to solving these cases. Now, what about Olson? What kind of charges is he facing?
Olson has been charged with deliberate homicide and tampering with evidence for placing her body inside the dumpster. His bond has been set at a staggering $1 million, which suggests that the court considers him a significant flight risk or a danger to the community.
That's certainly a substantial amount. What kind of sentence could he be looking at if convicted?
The potential consequences are severe. For the homicide charge, he could face anywhere from 10 years to life in prison. And for the evidence tampering, he's looking at up to 10 years or a $50,000 fine. It's worth noting that in cases like these, sentences often run consecutively, meaning he could be facing a very long time behind bars if convicted on both charges.
It's a lot to process. As we dig deeper into this story, I can't help but think about Alicia Wood and her loved ones. This kind of tragedy leaves a lasting impact on a community.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder of how quickly lives can be changed forever, and it raises so many questions about domestic violence, the effectiveness of our justice system, and how we as a society can better protect vulnerable individuals.
It's also a bit frustrating to see these type of cases over and over. These cases often reduce victims to just names in a headline, when they were real people with full lives.
You're absolutely right. It's important to remember that behind every crime statistic is a human being with hopes, dreams, and people who love them. In cases like these, we often see friends and family come forward in the days and weeks following to share memories and paint a picture of who the victim really was.
That's true. It's a sad reality that it often takes a tragedy for us to learn about someone's life and impact on their community. Speaking of community impact, how do you think this case has affected Conrad and the surrounding areas?
Well, cases like these can have a profound effect on small communities like Conrad. The fear and uncertainty during the search, followed by the shock of learning what happened, can really shake a community's sense of safety. It's likely that many residents knew Alicia, or at least knew of her, given the town's small size.
I can imagine. It must be especially difficult for the local law enforcement agencies dealing with a case of this magnitude.
Absolutely. Small-town police departments often don't have the resources or experience to handle complex homicide investigations. That's why we often see state agencies or even the FBI getting involved in cases like these. It's a balancing act between using all available resources and maintaining local control of the investigation.
That makes sense. Now, as we wrap up this discussion, are there any lessons we can take away from this case?
There are several important takeaways. First, it underscores the importance of taking missing persons reports seriously and acting quickly. The swift action by the Conrad Police Department likely played a crucial role in solving this case. Second, it highlights the need for better systems to track and apprehend individuals with outstanding warrants, especially those related to violent crimes.
Those are excellent points. It also seems to emphasize the importance of community awareness and support systems for those who might be in abusive situations.
Absolutely. Many domestic violence victims feel isolated and afraid to seek help. Community education about the signs of abuse and available resources can be life-saving. It's also crucial for friends, family, and neighbors to be vigilant and willing to reach out or report concerns.
Well said. As we conclude, I think it's important to remind our listeners that if they or someone they know is in a dangerous situation, there are resources available.
You're right. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7, and there are local resources in most communities. No one should have to face abuse alone. It's also worth mentioning that many communities have anonymous tip lines where people can report suspected abuse without fear of retaliation.
That's crucial information. This story is still unfolding, and our hearts go out to Alicia Wood's family and friends as they continue to search for closure.
Indeed. We'll be following this case as it develops, particularly the ongoing search efforts at the landfill and any new information that might come to light during the legal proceedings. It's a stark reminder of the complexities involved in these investigations and the long-lasting impact they have on all involved. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Killer Conversations. If you have any thoughts or questions about this case, please leave them in the comments below. We'll be back next week with another case, another story, and another chance to uncover the truth. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more Killer Conversations.